Obviously, Elizabeth Warren has a new book out, Persist. I don't know if you've
Persist.
picked up your copy yet, but
Can't put it down.
yeah. Well, neither can Ro Khanna, apparently.
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah, he says here on Twitter, this was from a few days ago. Oops. He said, I was late to my morning meeting because I couldn't put down Elizabeth Warren's book, Persist. Again, this dude makes like $174,000 as a public servant, and he was late to his meeting because he couldn't put down his fucking overpaid colleagues' self-aggrandizing fucking book about her failed run for a higher position of public servitude. Anyway, she's an intellectual who makes the case that the fight is as important as the idea. What fight is Elizabeth Warren engaged in lately?
She's fighting the other progressives to make sure we don't get Medicare for all. But anyway.
True. Love the story of how she had to bribe her toddler with M&Ms to potty train her for childcare. Inspiring read. So obviously this is just an annoying tweet. And also Ro Khanna was part of the Bernie Sanders campaign. How are you not suspicious about Elizabeth Warren and the way and what went down between her campaign and the Bernie campaign towards the end of the race? Like, as someone that was just as an outsider spectating, as someone who supported Bernie Sanders, that was one of the most insane moments, one of the craziest backstabs. I remember being so worked up about that.
You were pissed. I remember that.
I mean, not only did I feel betrayed on behalf of Bernie Sanders, but on behalf of this movement. And as someone who had even defended Elizabeth Warren when she had announced her candidacy, and I said, she does have the right to run. And even though I think Bernie is obviously the leader of this movement, there's no reason why we can't still have a civil debate between, good faith progressives and all this shit. It turns out she was not a good faith fucking progressive, and regardless of more conspiratorial notions about why she did what she did and why she stayed in the race as long as she did, there's no evidence about that stuff. I definitely have my own theories, but regardless of that, there's no doubt that she intentionally kneecapped and handicapped Bernie Sanders' campaign. And again, the most gracious reading of that is that she did it on behalf, because she genuinely thought that she still had a chance. She genuinely was just so egotistical, so narcissistic that she didn't understand that her chance was gone and that it was Bernie or Biden. So again, like, she backstabbed him potentially because her ego was like, I can still win this. This is the only way I can still win this. I think that's crazy to believe that that's why she did it, because again, it was so obvious that she had no path to victory. It was completely over for her campaign. So that's what makes me suspicious about her.
She would have to be completely delusional to think she could have won.
I know. And that's why I'm like, and then there was that huge infusion of super PAC.
That's the other thing. Yeah, that's one thing I wanted to talk about. What the fuck? Okay, Ro Khanna is supposed to be against big money in politics, right? Did he change his position on that I wasn't fucking aware of? So Elizabeth Warren, multiple times, depending on where's the lefty going? She did a Cenk Uygur licking her finger and sticking it in the wind, basically being like, oh, okay, well, it's really unpopular to call yourself a leftist and take super PAC money. Even though at the beginning of this campaign, when asked if she was going to take big money, corporate money, she was like, well, I think it's ridiculous to take anything off the table to defeat Donald Trump, which was a fucking terrible answer. That's the wrong way to answer that question. But then she actually started, taking that, especially at the end. She said she wasn't going to, and then she started losing and she was bleeding money. So she got this mysterious cash infusion at the end, all this horseshit. Then, of course, she stabbed Bernie in the back, implied that the man was a sexist after in 2016 he tried to get her to run instead of him, but she wouldn't fucking do it. And then she was like, oh man, this really was good for, she was cloud chasing, bro. But anyway.
Oh, 100%.
Of course, she had the right to run. She had the right to do all of these things, which is why I would say all the people have the right to make the snake emoji.
So true, man. And again, when I said she had the right to run, that was always under the assumption that when it became obvious that either her or Bernie was, the clear and obvious front runner, that one would drop out and endorse the other. And I think Bernie always truly believed that to be the case. And he would have done this. He would have done that if the roles were reversed.
He would have done it in a heartbeat.
I remember hearing reports that he genuinely felt betrayed. Obviously, that she didn't do that, because he so obviously would have done it if it had come down to Biden and Warren. And again, I'm not even a Warren fan, but there is a difference there. And Bernie would have recognized that. And he definitely would have dropped out if he was polling where Elizabeth was and Elizabeth was polling where he was. And it came down to
getting
him
third in her own home state.
I know, it's so embarrassing that she stayed in to get third in her own home state. It's so embarrassing. And again, as someone that genuinely was extremely invested in the Bernie campaign, just as an outsider, I would figure that as someone who was genuinely invested in the Bernie campaign, as someone that was literally part of the Bernie campaign, Ro Khanna, I figured that he would be just as frustrated, just as enraged and maddened by that behavior, the way she backstabbed her supposed friend, the person who she started off by pretending was her ideological ally. I was so maddened by that because it was such a crucial time. It was such a blow. It was such a distraction from the issues. And instead of going after Biden, who was supposed to be the common enemy of the progressives, she spent time to drum up this stupid, idiotic smear against her again supposed friend. But apparently Ro Khanna does not understand why people are frustrated at Elizabeth Warren.
Oh, he understands, dude.
Well,
he understands.
It's just crazy because obviously here he says enough with the snakes in the comments. Disagree vehemently. And if you look at the comments under this previous tweet, there's a lot of snakes, which is the one hilarious thing about the way that campaign ended is now Elizabeth Warren will never escape
forever being synonymous with the snake emoji.
Exactly, which is so funny. Anyway, so Ro Khanna's original tweet obviously got bombarded with snakes, and he says enough with the snakes in the comments. Disagree vehemently, but social media should not be a forum for sexism or gratuitous meanness. We need to call out that when we see it. Warren has been a champion for progressive values, except for when she was running against Bernie Sanders, and it actually truly mattered more than ever. She completely abandoned her progressive values.
How is the snake emoji sexist, by the way? Is it because it's kind of phallically shaped? A snake is kind of the shape of a phallus.
If that is why people say it's sexist, then that's crazy.
Isn't that a bit of a stretch, though? I can't think of anything else.
Yeah.
Like, I would use the snake emoji against countless politicians. You know what I mean?
And look here, like women use it too. Misty, she's another lefty commentator. She's using the snake emoji. Lots of people are using the snake emoji. And Ro, have you ever considered that maybe people use the snake emoji or they send the snake to Elizabeth Warren because she's a fucking snake? Like, has that never occurred to you? Because it's pretty obvious that that's why.
How many times have we called other YouTubers snakes in the grass when they were men? Like, obviously, it's like it's not even a sexist term at all. Look, you guys, if anybody's listened to this show for a long time, you guys know that Gavin and I will not fuck around with sexism. We're not those kinds of dudes, but we're also not those fake fucking virtue. Like, ooh, this is fucking alarming. I hate that. Like, no, like we're all adults here. Like, one thing that irritates me, and I know this irritates a lot of people, but it's like so many people want to be woke by just infantilizing people. Like, you just like stop it. Like, women are grown-ups too. Like, you know what? If they piss me off and they're my representative or they're in the United States Senate, I'm gonna be like, yeah, you're a fucking snake fraud. Okay. Yeah. I you know what? It's like Salem Snow right here, friend of the show, Salem Snow. 1, holding people accountable is not sexism. 2, we clearly have different definitions of progressive values. 100%, bro. Shout out to Salem Snow. For Congress, he's running in Philly.
Oh yeah, shout out to Salem, a good friend of the show. And again, like obviously, I want to like Ro Khanna. I think
dude. I think this is exactly who the fuck Ro Khanna is, man. I've lost so much respect for Ro Khanna, dude. He pisses me off all the time now, and he's not doing anything that would make me happy. When at least when Trump was in office, he was doing shit that could make me happy. Like, I was like, okay, you're putting all your energy into stopping what's going on in Yemen, and you're trying to push bipartisan reforms in war. Because the one thing, admittedly, that you can typically count on Ro Khanna to be, A1 on is war. But he has kind of tried to brand himself as a leftist. And the one thing I will say, if I'm going to give props to him outside of the war thing, is that he'll go on controversial podcasts where people don't agree with him. I like that. I like that a lot. I respect him so much more than people like AOC
the Vanguard,
or squad members who would never fucking come on the Vanguard to answer a single goddamn tough question. But at the end of the day, I really just kind of see him as like just left of the center. Like, I think of Ro Khanna as what an actual centrist should be. If we weren't like completely run off of the fucking crazy catawamp, like whatever, like that's the kind of Democrat that I think is like a non-crazy person, but that's why I'm never going to be a Democrat, right? When you look at Ro Khanna, I think that's the best you're ever going to get from a Democrat, and it's why I'm a socialist. I'm not a Democrat.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. That is a really good point. And Ro Khanna's talked about how Ro
Khanna is the new Mark Pocan in the comment section.
I mean, I don't know about new Mark Pocan,
but I just mean like he's one of those guys in my brain. Like, you know what I mean? Mark Pocan is like nominally progressive.
Although I think he has better instincts than Mark Pocan. I think that he's a better legislator than Mark Buchanan.
Sure,
One thing you
that's
can't
true.
deny about Khanna is that he is a competent legislator, which does separate him from some of the other less experienced progressives in Congress that have just proven, regardless of what they believe or stand for, they've just proven to not be effective. Ro Khanna is someone that is effective.
100%.
But
Just like that bipartisan legislation that he got all the way through, it was vetoed by Trump, unfortunately.
yes,
But that's
and
the
that
kind
was,
of things that he
yeah,
can do.
exactly. And that was something that was actually really important, and that's actually why I originally did really respect Khanna, because he did pass that, or he got it to Trump's desk and then it was vetoed. But I did think that was a really effective use of his position, and I wish we would see more stuff like that from progressives in Congress rather than just virtue signaling on Twitter all day. But again, I'm not trying to give this dude too much credit. Obviously, this tweet, among many other recent episodes and sentiments he's expressed, have been beyond disappointing. And again, it just sucks that these progressives in Congress aren't using their rhetorical skills, their ability to tap into the populist instinct and appeal. It's just too bad they're not using that and kind of weaponizing that against the Democratic establishment and using it to hold their own party accountable, to call out Joe Biden and the people that are really in power right now when they're falling short. Because there's nothing wrong with giving them credit if you're a progressive in Congress, because obviously you want to be on their good side. So I'm not saying they have to go completely scorched earth, but they don't even really hold Biden or their leadership, like Pelosi, accountable at all. They really refuse to criticize them at all. And when they're
not only that, they're like patting him on the balls.
No, that's
they're
what
like,
I'm saying. When they're asked to give an analysis, they say they've met the moment. They give them a literal A if you're a Jayapal. So it's just crazy that they're not applying a little bit more fucking pressure. Come on, guys, come on. Because again, they do have the ability to be competent. They do have the ability to be effective. It just sucks that people like Ro Khanna, instead of directing that energy to more productive causes, they're instead using it to defend Elizabeth Warren's stupid new book. And by the way, speaking of Elizabeth Warren, so-called progressive champion, this stupid book that she's written is the first time she's been even remotely relevant or part of the conversation since she dropped out of the presidential race. She got completely passed on by Biden for the cabinet positions, which she was fucking embarrassingly groveling for, by the way. She didn't get the VP pick, obviously. She didn't get Treasury Secretary. She didn't get anything she would have wanted. She hasn't been a remotely relevant voice in any of these fights. She hasn't pushed or pressured Biden to the left on anything when it comes to the stimulus or economics. She's largely been just any other Democratic senator at this point. Far cry
and
from
her approval numbers show it, guys.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I think it's just telling that the first time she actually makes a splash is when she releases this dumbass self-aggrandizing book about all these excuses for why she lost the race, rather than just addressing the situation in an honest manner, and also addressing why you backstabbed the only and best chance that the left had at getting someone in the White House with some of our shared goals and values. Again, when push came to shove, when it really came down to it, you aided the Democratic establishment in crushing the only the closest we would ever have to a socialist being in the White House. And when that moment came, Warren was not on the right side of history. She was with Biden. She absolutely helped Joe Biden win.
100%.
Absolutely. There's no fucking denying it, which is continually, I mean, I'm literally getting heated right now thinking about it and talking about it.
The thing that I've just settled on with Warren, and this is something I think we talked about the last time she pissed us off and made it into the news, but I think what really happened with that is the fact that, she was a Republican for her whole fucking life until she was like damn near 50, right? And I think that, while she'd been friendly with Bernie, I think she really viewed him as like this kooky guy that would never be able to be anything serious, right? And so they become friendly because he did support some of her moderate reforms, even though in her mind, he was so far out of what's acceptable. And I think she ran after seeing how successful he'd been in 2016 because she didn't want somebody like him to be able to do it. So she's like, oh, I'll co-opt a lot of these ideas. I'll dilute them. I'll water them down. And then I'll just take over his popularity, and I'll also be serious, and I'll also make sure that none of these radical things happen, which is why she went kamikaze on the dude, full suicide bomber. and took out his campaign along with her own, destroying her entire political credibility with it because she didn't want to see somebody like Bernie Sanders succeed, because I just fundamentally don't think she believes in socialism. She called herself a capitalist to her bones. I think she just decided that I'll take the L and go for the establishment and do this for them.
Absolutely. And one last note on Warren. Apparently she's running, is confirmed that she's running for re-election, obviously, in 2024. So it'll be interesting to see if anyone challenges
she'll
her.
lose that Senate race. She's got like a third. Like, what was her? I mean, when she was running for president, she had one of the lowest approval ratings of any sitting senator.
Yeah. No, it's pretty funny. And it will be. I think it'll be hilarious if she gets a lefty primary challenger. That'd be so fucking funny if she has to go up against someone that really is willing to hold her accountable, call her out for. And obviously it wasn't just the Bernie thing. It's not like we're just like sitting here like these bitter fucking Bernie bros, like refusing to let anything go, like refusing to let any grudge, from the primary. No. Elizabeth Warren has, proven to be a true snake in the grass, a real backstabber of the movement time and time again. Another instance I always point to is when she endorsed John Hickenlooper over progressive Sunrise Movement endorsed Andrew Romanoff at the last minute, right when Hickenlooper was actually kind of falling behind in the polls, and it looked like Romanoff might be gaining some momentum. This fucking snake came in and endorsed one of the most centristy pro fossil fuel, pro fracking Democrats in John Hickenlooper, again ruining the chances